Hello, good evening, and welcome to your second lesson for the intermediate semester. Hello to you too, Gilad.
Hello, Mutlu.
We hope you're all well and ready for this lesson.
We're very, very happy to be here the second time.
Absolutely.
And excited to delve again into another article of Rabash, which is the Rav Baruch Shalom Ashlag. And before we begin, as we do in every lesson, let's start with a small preparation. And let's even do a preparation for the preparation. We want to do that every lesson just for the first time maybe. So basically, why is it important to start with preparation? I'll just start off with saying that you might know that we have what we call the daily lesson. So every day, there are 3 hours of a lesson with Rav Dr. Michael Lightman. And the lesson begins from 3 a.m. Israel time to 6 a.m., but it actually begins at 2:45. And those 15 minutes are very, very important. These are 15 minutes of, let's call it high tension. If you go into the study hall where there are hundreds of students sitting down, you can really feel that tension in the air. Everyone is silent. Everyone is delved into preparation for the lesson, into thinking of what they want to achieve from the lesson, how they want to correctly focus their thoughts, how they want to help others in their thought be focused to the lesson as well. Because really, when you come to study an article by Rabash, or any article by the Kabbalists that we study, Bala Sulam, or the words of Dr. Lightman, then what you can get from there is infinite. And it all depends on the vessel that you come with. So if you come with a very, very small vessel, meaning a very small preparation, then that's what you'll be able to get out of the lesson. And if you prepare, like we call it a big kli, a big vessel, then what you'll be able to get is more. That's why it's always very important, even though the lesson starts at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, we highly recommend that you already 15 minutes before, like we've been here already for almost half an hour, sitting down, preparing, going over the materials, making sure we're ready externally with everything we need, and more importantly, internally, that we focus our intention. So it's highly recommended that you come in 15, 20 minutes before we begin, clear everything out, shut down all the unnecessary windows you have on your computer. It's very difficult, it's probably distracting, so you even have a greater opportunity for work here. And maybe open the article we're going to read, or any actually article that we have from our study materials, from Kabbalah for the Student, from the Rabash social writings, and really start preparing, start thinking of what you're going to get out of this lesson. So to begin with the preparation, I'll just read something very short from the daily lesson, and Dr. Lightman says the following. The question was, why in mutual guarantee, the wisdom of Kabbalah opens up the contradiction between the individual and the general? So the answer is because in mutual guarantee we become similar to the general system that is called the Creator. And then the light from that general system, from that upper system, comes through us and passes on to the entire world, to all of the shattered souls. And that is all through this mutual responsibility. Okay, so hopefully that's set the tone and our thought that we're in this study. And even though we're all separated seemingly on different computers, we have Teresa from Brazil, Suzanne from Michigan, Francisca from Sao Paulo, and from New York, Lisa from Arizona, Paul from China, Adam from Oregon, Scott from Canada, and many more students, we're sure. And each one is seemingly seated in another place of the world. It doesn't matter, because if our intention is to be connected to all of those who are studying right now, then that means that we're together. That means that we're in mutual guarantee for one another. And it doesn't matter if you're sitting physically next to someone. It does make it easier. That Mudlu is right here next to me. And again, you have a greater opportunity for work here. And let's really feel that we're all together in this. We're like a group now, and each one wants to feel the others and think of the others and feel their intention for the others as well. And let's keep that intention throughout the entire study. And a perfect way to do that are the Rabash articles, who speaks to us directly about that work directly with the Creator, and the way to reach it with the friends.
Absolutely. So we made a little introduction to Rabash in our first lesson together, and we're now getting ready in this intermediate semester with you guys to start mingling inside the concept called the group. And the group is a very important thing because, as you see also from the world, the whole world has a lot of people in it, 8 billion people, and there's a reason for 8 billion people. And the whole reason stems from spirituality. That in order for us to attain spirituality, actually we need to get sensations and feelings, which we call internal sensations and feelings, which we can only get from others. So, for example, if we lived up there on the mountain somewhere or in a forest somewhere on our own, we wouldn't actually experience the sensations and feelings that people do between each other. We would just experience the sensations we get from the vegetative level, the still level, and the animate level. But to really attain something called human, Adam, man, we need to be among others who are called humans and man. So this is the whole concept from our world stemming into spiritual development, and this is why in the second semester we're really focused on Rabash, who is really preparing us for group work, how to attain spirituality among a group of people who have the same inclination as you do, which is the dot in the heart. Now, as we read these articles, sometimes here and there they'll pop up words that you might not be familiar with. And they're popping up because of the language differences, such as we're studying Rabash's articles in Hebrew, obviously. So there are here and there technical words, which at this moment I wouldn't really worry about at all, because as we study, what's going to happen is these technical words are going to be like words we learn in physics and chemistry and whatever other science there might be. Okay, like there's in medicine, there's Latin words. So in Kabbalah we have a few technical words, but I wouldn't get too worried about it. As we go along, Rabash will also explain what they really mean. However, if you have any dramas or any misunderstandings or things that are a bit blurry and not clear, you know what to do. You just send the questions through to us, and then Gilad will see them over there, and then we'll answer them as best we can. Okay? And today's article is on page 36. And it's called Sometimes Spirituality is Called a Soul. So let's read a little bit, and if there are any questions, we'll go through them. But the main point, like I said, in this term is to start getting our heads around the concept that I need to be among people to figure out this system that Gilad just read about, which the Rav said about mutual responsibility. Because mutual responsibility can only be with people who feel the same way about each other. Okay, because I can't be mutually responsible for people who don't care about me. So if we're all in that direction of building that system called spirituality, we need to be in that reflective mode of mutual responsibility. All right, and we'll get into that as the semester goes along. So we'll just get smashing with the reading, and hopefully it'll be clearer for us. I'll read. Is that all right?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Go
Good. So it's Rabash, Social Writings, page 36. Sometimes spirituality is called soul. Article number 13, 1984. We must understand why spirituality is sometimes called a soul, in Hebrew, neshama, as it is written, body and soul. And sometimes spirituality is called soul, from the Hebrew word nefesh, as in, and you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul. Usually when speaking of spirituality, we speak of its highest discernment, which is neshama, so that one will know that a higher degree has been made ready for him, which is neshama. To evoke in his heart the desire to achieve it, and to think what is the reason that he has not achieved it yet. Then he will come to know that all we need in order to attain spirituality is equivalence of form. The body is born with a nature of self-love, which is disparity of form from the Creator, whom we attain as only giving. Thus, one should cleanse one's body and come to equivalence of form, so he too will want to do things that are only to bestow. By that, he will be able to reach this high degree called neshama. This is why we always speak in terms of body and neshama, which is soul. But when referring to the order of the work, following the degree of the body comes the degree of nefesh. This is why the writing says, "And you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul, for this is the next degree after the body." This is why it says, "with all your heart," and subsequently, "with all your soul." In other words, one must be willing to give everything he has to the Creator, but afterwards, if he obtains a higher degree, meaning ruach, called spirit, and then neshama, he should still be willing to give everything to the Creator. But the text begins with the first degree that comes after the body. All that a man has, he must give to the Creator. This means that he does not do anything for his own benefit. Rather, everything is for the sake of the Creator. This is considered that all his deeds are only to bestow, while he is completely inconsequential. Rather, everything is for the sake of the Creator. Now, we read a few paragraphs here, and it might be misunderstood a little bit. However, if it is, please ask questions. All right. So he gives us a few technical words here, and he's also touching on some things like we must do everything for the Creator, we must give up everything for the Creator, and so forth. So when one hears that, it's sometimes unpleasant. Like, why? Don't I get anything? However, like I said, we can only clarify as much as you ask. And asking, therefore, is a very good thing for everybody in the group to clarify a common concept. All right, so if you have any questions, don't be shy. It's not a very tough article, but it does have some toughness in it and a bit of difficulty to grasp. So don't be shy. Please ask for the benefit of everyone in the group so we can clarify the article together, just like in Rav's lessons that you know from the congresses and from the morning lessons. All right, so I'll continue to read, but you should be pounding us with questions. I'll just recap back from the last paragraph. All that a man has, he must give to the Creator. This means that he does not do anything for his own benefit. Rather, everything is for the sake of the Creator. This is considered that all his deeds are only to bestow, while he is completely inconsequential. Rather, everything is for the sake of the Creator. Now you can understand what is written in the Zohar. With all your soul. He asks, it should have said in your soul. What is with all your soul? Why does it say with? He replies that it comes to include nefesh, ruach, neshama. This is with all your soul, where all means what this nefesh grips. From this, we see that the Zohar interprets all that the Torah adds to us as coming to tell us that nefesh and ruach are included in the neshama. However, it deliberately begins with nefesh, since after the body comes the nefesh. But when we speak of spirituality in general, we refer to spirituality as neshama, as it is written, and he blew into his nostrils the neshama, soul or breath of life. To obtain the degree of naran, which is nefesh, ruach, neshama, we must go by a path of bestowal and try to come out of self-love. This is called the path of truth, meaning that by so doing, we will achieve the quality of truth that exists in His providence, who behaves towards us with the quality of benevolence. Are there any questions?
Yes, there are.
Okay.
Actually, a few.
Good.
So let's take two questions together. Scott from Ontario, Canada, and Francisca from New York are asking about equivalence of form. How does one cleanse the body to receive equivalence of form with the Creator?
All right. First of all, the concept of body, we need to be back on track with that. Body is not our body here, so we're not talking about the meat and flesh that we need to cleanse. Body in spirituality is our will to receive for ourselves. Okay? The will to receive is always the will to receive. This will never change. We shall always be, even when we are corrected completely, in the end of correction, we will always be a will to receive. What we have to cleanse when he talks about the body is the intention to receive for ourselves. Okay, that needs to be cleansed. So that's the body. This is why religions confuse everything with the body and the soul. What we need to understand from Kabbalistic texts is that body is our intention to receive for our own benefit. That needs to be cleansed. We will cleanse that through the study. Okay? Because there's a thing called, as we study, as you know by now, there's a thing called the surrounding light. So as we study together, all of us, this is why we need to study together, in order to display our desire. Because when we want things, we want them from our hearts, don't we? This is why he's going into the heart here, with his body and soul, his heart, his, the components as if they're a part of my body. However, they're not part of my body in flesh. They're a part of my soul, my structure, basically, right? A spiritual structure. So, the body that we need to cleanse is our intention to receive for ourselves. The will to receive will always remain until, forever. It will always remain forever, because that's what we are, a will to receive. That will not change. And what was the second part of the question again, just to be clear?
The second part was how to reach equivalence of form with the Creator.
Right. As we study Kabbalah, just like kids grow in life, okay, and they become adults and they start making their own living and working and so on, just so we will also grow in spirituality over time, and we'll begin to understand what it's like to be like mom and dad, okay, just like in this life. So equivalence of form means that after I reveal spirituality, what spirituality really means, that I begin to act in that way, that my intentions are in order to bestow just like the Creator is bestowing upon us. That's what equivalence of form means. Basically means that I behave, okay, in my nature, just like the Creator behaves in His nature. That's equivalence of form. And we will learn how to be in equivalence of form from the Creator Himself. He will teach us. But as we study, just like life teaches us as we grow up, the Creator will teach us as we grow up in spirituality.
Okay, I'd just like to add to that, and maybe also refer to Emily's question, which you already started answering, about the body. What about the body? What animates it? Does it have a soul of its own? Is it nephesh? So let's just go back to a quick illustration, which you probably remember from fundamentals. So we have this line, which we call a mahzom, or a barrier, that above it is the spiritual world, and below it is this world.
It's an A after you.
Oh, sorry. Spiritual world and this world. So what's in this world? You're in this world. Your house is in this world. We have the trees in this world. Basically, we have all of the corporeality, which is this world. We have animals, etc., etc., etc. Now, the only connection from this world to the upper world is something that we call a point in the heart, or as Mutlu likes to call it, a dot in the heart. So this is our heart, meaning our collection of desires for money, for honor, for family, for sex, for knowledge, for power, and so on. And these desires, they're all corporeal. They're all for things in this world. Now, there is this single point, which, if you're very lucky, it awakens in you, which is actually a point for spirituality. It's a desire for spirituality. It's a desire for the spiritual world. And this is actually the only point that can lead us to equivalence of form with a creator. Why? Because it's the only point that has something of the creator in it. Now, sometimes it's confusing, and that's exactly what Mutlu explained here, that the body, when we talk about body, if we're talking about this physical body, this does not need to be corrected. Our physical body is down here. It is the exact same as any animal. This might be maybe surprising to some of you. This physical body is the exact same as any other animal, like a horse, like a dog, like a cat. It's a physical body. It's an animal. Now, the only thing that needs to be corrected is not in this body physically. The spirituality isn't physical in the body. It's the desire. And this desire is that very same point that wants to reach spirituality, that wants to reach revelation of the Creator, that wants to understand why it's alive, why it was created, what's the purpose of life, and what's the meaning of life. So the way to reach equivalence of form is only to work on developing this point. Now, you probably remember that the only way to do that is through this device called the light that reforms, which basically we can draw upon ourselves, we can pull it to ourselves at any given moment, as long as we're connected to the books, or to a Rav, meaning to a teacher, or to a group. And with these three things, we can pull, so to speak, this light from the spiritual worlds, and this light corrects our desire. It as if pulls us up. Now, these spiritual worlds, they're 125 degrees here. We're not going to go into them, but this might answer some additional questions and confusions about neshama and nefesh, like Iris, so we don't have neshama and nefesh, or Emily, who says, is this the nefesh? So basically, this spiritual world has 125 levels of concealment. Or you can divide it into 5 spiritual worlds, which each one is broken down into another 5, into another 5. 5 to the power of 3 is 125. And they have a lot of names, but basically what they are, they're concealments. They're concealments to reach this complete equivalence of form. So this is the Creator. And every time a person corrects himself a little more, a little more, a little more, he becomes more similar to the Creator. He goes through another level of concealment, he opens it up. And these levels, depends if you go from top down or from bottom up, they're called Naran Chai. So Naran Chai is Nefesh, Ruach, Neshama, Chaya. Just a sec. See, I missed something here. To make it clearer. Ruach, Neshama, Chaya, and Yechida. So when you hear these phrases and these terms, there really is no need to delve deeper into them beyond the fact that you are currently over here, this is where you are, and you want to reach these states. You want to feel, you want to attain what nefesh is, what ruach is. And that's it. Because currently, from this level, you cannot understand what nefesh, what ruach means. Okay, so these questions that, like from Emily, or from Iris, do we have or not have nefesh neshama? That is for you to reveal as soon as you rise up to the spiritual worlds. And until then, all of these terms that we have here, yeah, Mutlu is saying that I should have drawn it the other way, and it's correct, because we're actually going from bottom up.
It's okay. It's basically it's like this, guys. It's no big deal. Gilad is talking about the upper worlds, and we just need to attain nefesh. He's talking about here nefesh, ruach, neshama, chaya, and yehida. Okay. Basically, Rabash is saying that after the animate life here, which Gilad drew here, like our corporeal level here, right? In our lives here. He's talking about here, okay? Beyond this level, he's saying the first thing we attain is something called the neshama. Okay, nefesh, sorry. Nefesh is the first level. And when we advance a little bit more, we attain ruach, and then we attain neshama, nefesh, ruach, neshama, and so on. Just not to complicate things. It's like, as we grow up in life, we have our childhood, right? As a child, I begin to understand what's in the world. And then I become a teenager. And then as a teenager, I begin to understand what's going on in the world. Then I become an adult in my 20s and 30s, and I begin to understand what it's like to be, in my 20s, 30s, in my career, work. And then I become in my 40s or 30s and 40s, where, let's say, I've got kids and stuff, and so I begin to understand what it means to be in adulthood. And then I become, older, and then I think, wow, I've passed all my life, and now how much I've learned, and how I thought things were, and actually then I revealed how things really were, and so on. Okay, basically, let's not get confused with the terminology too much, but think of it. Let's learn from life. Okay, how we're going through life. So just like in life, as we grow, we build wisdom and understanding. These lights are actually our understanding of bestowal, just like in this world, as we grow older, we understand what this world is all about. So to understand what spirituality is all about, we're just getting into the technical nitty-gritty, but the concept is the same, so don't be so confused. All right?
So all the questions, like from Scott, what's the difference between nefesh and neshama? Again, all of these things here, the questions about this world, right now, they're good questions, they're important to scrutinize, but the most beneficial part of the study is by wanting to attain what nefesh means, by wanting to attain what neshama means. And that's what your main focus should be on. Further down the study, we'll also have lessons specifically talking about tasks, explaining the structure of all these. There are a lot of interesting things here. How can it be right if it's from this way down or from this way up? There's a million questions here, and we have lessons every day that we learn exactly about the structure of the spiritual worlds. But basically, for the actual study, and for our article here, when you see these words, nefesh, ruach, neshama, it's important to see these as levels of spiritual degrees that we want to reach.
Okay, so let's stick with the text, and let's stick with what Rabash is giving us without going into other branches. Is there anything else we need to answer?
No.
So do we have a neshama? She's asking. Iris, we answered that, right?
Yep.
Okay, good.
So we don't have nefesh neshama. Exactly. So
we don't have a soul at the moment, right? We just don't have a soul at the moment. He's saying we're living in an animate state right now, and we don't have one right now. But we're, like Gilad said, we're aspiring for one, and that's the important thing. All right? So let's carry on with what Rabash is telling us. This is called the Creator's seal is truth. This means that the objective of the work of the Creator, meaning his work in creating the worlds, which is to do good to his creations, is that man must reach the Creator's quality of truth. Man will know that he has reached his completeness after he has attained the guidance of the Creator as benevolent, whether he has abundance. But also he should see that others have abundance too, meaning see that everyone has complete abundance. This is presented in Introduction to the Study of the Ten Sefirot, item 150. The fourth discernment of love, which is unconditional love, is eternal. This is so because after he has judged the whole world favorably, the love is eternal and absolute. There cannot be covering and hiding in the world because there it is a place of complete disclosure of the face. As it is written, your teacher will no longer hide himself, but your eyes will see your teacher, since he already knows all of the Creator's dealings with all the people in the form of true providence that appears from his name. The good, who does good, to the good and to the bad. There we go. These two paragraphs might need a little explaining. How are you guys feeling about it? You know, it's good to be interactive in the Learning Center lessons. So if there's anything a bit too blurry, also say, you know what, I didn't understand anything, because it does happen to me often when we're in the morning lesson. It's also good to, bring that out so we can actually go over the same paragraph again. Okay, so don't be shy. This is an interactive course, and soon we'll be even more interactive with Zoom, I believe. So if there's anything not clear, please ask.
And for anyone who joined late, we're reading from Rabash's Social Writings on page 36. Article sometimes spirituality is called a soul.
Yes, so we're currently 38. On 38, top paragraph. Okay. It therefore follows that if one reaches complete perfection, he attains his true state. However, there are preliminary degrees before that, as it is written in Introduction to the Study of the Ten Sefirot, that the first discernment is repentance from fear. It is written about it in item 63. The first degree of attainment of the disclosure of the face, meaning attainment and sensation of the providence of reward and punishment, in a way that he who knows all mysteries will testify that he will not return back to folly, is called repentance from fear. At that time, his sins become mistakes for him, and he is called incomplete righteous, or medium, or the man in the middle, as they say. Okay? So we have quite a few technical terms here. However, according to the above, there is another sign that one is walking on the path of truth. That one is walking on the path of truth. The state of negation. In other words, even though he sees that now he's in a worse state, that is, before he began to walk on the path of truth, he felt closer to holiness, Kedusha, whereas now that he's begun to walk on this path, he feels more remote. But according to the known rule, holiness is increased, not decreased. There rises the question, why now that he is walking on the path of truth, does he feel that he's regressing instead of progressing, as it should be if he is walking on the path of truth? At the very least, he should not decline from his previous state.
This reminds me of an example that Rav Latman sometimes gives. He says, when you study high school physics, everything seems clear to you. It's like, first law of Newton, sum of the forces equals 0. Second law, sum of the forces equal mass times acceleration. It's all very clear and simple. And then when you go to university and you study physics and you do your master's in physics and you become a researcher of physics, all these simple concepts suddenly become completely unclear. And it's like, does that mean that you're advancing or are you going back? You might think to someone who, to an untrained eye, that this person knows even less than a high school student. But of course, this is from getting to the true depth of these states, then one really can question it. And that of course is called advancement. That's what Rabash is writing to us here. That holiness is always increased, it's never decreased. In spirituality, it can only go up. And sometimes this going up is felt as going down. So why is he walking on the path of truth? Does he feel that he's regressing instead of progressing as it should be if he's walking on the path of truth? At the very least, he should not decline from his previous state. That's what a person feels, right? How could I have gone back? I was so in an uplifted mode. I was so focused on the study. Everything was clear. I read the articles. I understood them like this. I could answer the questions to myself, and suddenly everything becomes unclear. Right?
Maybe this part we should go back with paragraph by paragraph, okay? Because there's quite a few things in there. I don't want to rush you guys either. We still have time. It's not a great long article here. Let's go back to the top of page 38, and we'll go paragraph by paragraph, okay? And if there's anything related to that paragraph, if you can follow up, that'd be great.
Definitely.
So this is called the Creator's seal is truth. This means that the objective of the work of the Creator, meaning his work in creating the worlds, which is to do good to his creations, is that man must reach the Creator's quality of truth. So the Creator's quality of truth is that he does good. He is good that does good. This is a very important principle about the Creator, which the Kabbalists can't stress enough, because we don't always feel that the Creator treats us nicely. So this is something you have to underline. The Kabbalists are saying we should attain the Creator as good that does good. Okay, that's their definition. And that's called the truth. So man will know that he has reached his completeness after he has attained the guidance of the Creator as benevolent, whether he has abundance. But also he should see that others have abundance too, meaning see that everyone has complete abundance. So it's not just enough for me to feel that the Creator is treating me good and is giving me everything, but I should actually attain the fact that he's treating the whole of reality as good that does good. Alright, so I should be seeing the whole of reality from his eyes, and he's telling us that that's the complete level. So let's come down to the second paragraph on page 38. This is presented in Introduction to the Study of the 10 Sephirot, the fourth discernment of love, which is unconditional love, is eternal. So from here we understand that there are 4 levels that we need to attain in love. Okay? And the utmost higher level is called eternal unconditional love. This is so because after he has judged the whole world favorably, the love is internal and absolute, meaning that the Creator rules the whole of reality, not just me, but Gilad, everybody in the whole of reality, the Creator treats with utter love, and that's the degree I should attain. So if I feel that one person is having a bad life in life, it means I'm not there at all. Alright? There cannot be covering and hiding in the world, because there it is, a place of complete disclosure of the face, as it is written. So this is the complete disclosure of the Creator's face, that he does everything as good as benevolent, as good and benevolent, and I attain that. And that's the revelation of the Creator. Your teacher will no longer hide himself, but your eyes will see your teacher, since he already knows all of the Creator's dealings with all the people in the form of true providence that appears from his name being good that does good, and his providence is how he treats everybody as good, the good who does good to the good and to the bad. So the Creator does good to everyone regardless of what they are. Alright? Otherwise it wouldn't be called love. If I have naughty children and good behaving kids, I love them both, even though they're naughty ones and good behaving ones. It therefore follows that if one reaches complete perfection, he attains his true state. So attaining complete perfection is what he created us in actual truth, that we have yet to attain. We are yet to attain, that is. However, there are preliminary degrees before that, as it is written in the Introduction to the Study of the 10 Sephirot, that the first discernment is repentance from fear. Alright, so we often hear about fear in religions, right? You got to fear God. All right, as if he's going to fry us somewhere. Well, I'd like to tell you all, there is nowhere to be fried after death. Okay? So let's see what the fear of the Creator is, because that's an important concept we need to understand. It is written about it in item 63. The first degree of attainment of the disclosure of the face, meaning attainment and sensation of the providence of reward and punishment, in a way that he who knows all mysteries will testify that he will not return back to folly, is called repentance from fear. At that time, his sins become mistakes for him, and he is called incomplete righteous or medium. So, the first degree of attainment is called the degree of fear. Okay, so fear of God is not like what they teach us in religions. As if we do something bad, after we die, we're going to go somewhere and somebody's going to throw us on the barbecue and fry us. No. But fear is when I first reveal the Creator, and from that I understand how He's treating me, and I do not want to stain or disgrace, let's say, or degrade His approach to me by abusing it. Okay, so let's say I have a good friend, okay, and I don't want to abuse our relationship. I want our relationship to be nice and fair, okay? So because I love my friend, I'm afraid to do wrong against him. That's called the fear of losing my friend in this world, okay? And in the spiritual world, that's called the fear of God. It means that I don't want to do something that will damage our relationship with the Creator. That's called the fear of God. Because I see He's bestowing upon me, and I would like to reciprocate. And if I can't do that, that's a worry. And that's the fear of the Creator. All right? That's like, in spirituality, that's how it is. So let's see. One more paragraph and we'll answer questions regarding these concepts here, right? At that time, his sins become mistakes for him, and he is called incomplete righteous or medium. It means that at this phase, I'm beginning to understand the Creator's relationship towards me and how to tread on the water gently. Okay? So before I jump into stuff, before I jump into my desire to receive, I'm actually testing the waters first. I'm just checking myself that things are not in order to receive for myself. You know? However, according to the above, there is another sign that one is walking on the path of truth and the state of negation. In other words, even though he sees that now he's in a worse state, that is, before he began to walk on the path of truth, he felt closer to holiness, Kedusha, whereas now that he's began to walk on the path, he feels more remote. But according to the known rule, holiness is increased, not decreased. There arises the question, why now that he is walking on the path of truth, does he feel that he is regressing instead of progressing, as it should be if he is walking on the path of truth? At the very least, he should not decline from his previous state. And in this paragraph, that's the sensation that one gets as he advances in spirituality. He begins to discover how he has egoistic desires. So as I discover more and more my egoistic desires, it feels to a person like I'm becoming a worse person than I was before. But that's not actually the truth. The truth is that I'm actually discovering more and more what I really am. Now, a lot of people, when studying Kabbalah, come to this sensation. They work really well, and they begin to discover how egoistic they are, and they feel bad about it. And then they leave the study. But here is the reason why we shouldn't leave the study. Rabash is explaining to us here that the more we study, it feels like we're more egoistic, we're more in our self-love, but that's exactly what the study should bring to us. Okay? So here is the situation that we need to come to an understanding. that even though I'm advancing and feeling worse maybe about the new desires I've revealed, that's actually an advancement in seeing the truth. And this is why it's called the wisdom of truth, because it brings one to see the true state. So we should not be afraid of that, and we should, really embrace that on the way.
I just want to add to that, and the purpose of feeling this true state isn't in order to suffer, of course not. On the contrary, the purpose of creation is what? Do you remember? To give pleasure to the created beings. So then why do we need to reveal and discover this growing void, this growing desire? It's very simple. Let's say the end of creation, the 125 degrees, is a kli that can receive the light, that is filled with light. When a person comes to the study, he does not yet attain this entire kli. So what happens during the study is that every time a person, he corrects only a very tiny layer of his desire, of the created desire. So every time a person advances, and they're altogether 125 of these, so I won't draw them all, but every time a person corrects one of these layers, and of course this is all already beyond the corporeal, or this is already all spirituality, so every time he corrects this, suddenly a new vessel is revealed to him, and this new vessel is felt as a lack, as a void, as something that needs to be corrected. So that's why he explains here that's what Mutlu was saying, that every time a person in the study, if he feels this state, then it's a sign of advancement. The reason it's a sign of advancement is simply because he's expanded his kli. He has a greater potential to receive pleasure and to fulfill himself. And that's how it is throughout the study.
Absolutely. Any questions regarding these matters? Or should I carry on reading?
Let's carry on, and we'll do a few questions at the end.
So I'm carrying on reading on page 39 with the paragraph that starts, the answer. The answer is that there must be absence before there is presence. This means that first there must be a vessel, a kli, which is called a lack. And then there will be room to fill the lack. Therefore, first, one must go forward and bring himself closer to the truth each time. In other words, each time he goes forward, he sees his situation, that he is immersed in self-love. And each time he should see more clearly that self-love is bad, because self-love is what hinders us from reaching the delight and pleasure that the Creator has prepared for us, as this is what separates us from the Creator. Accordingly, we can understand that what a person thinks, that he is regressing now, that he has begun on the path of truth, he must know that this is not so. Rather, he is advancing towards the truth. Previously, when his work was not based on bestowal and faith, he was far from seeing the truth. But now he must come to feel the evil within him, as it is written, there shall be no strange God within you. Excuse me. Our sages said, who is the strange God in a man's body? It is the evil inclination. In other words, within a person, the will to receive is his very evil. And then, when he has achieved the recognition of evil, he can say that he's going to correct it. It turns out that prior to attaining his evil to an extent where he couldn't tolerate it any longer, there was nothing to correct. Thus he has indeed gone a long way forward in the truth to see his real situation. And when a person sees the evil in himself to an extent that he cannot tolerate it, he begins to seek advice for how to come out of it. But the only advice for a man of Israel is to turn to the Creator, so he will open his eyes and his heart and fill it with sublime abundance, as our sages said, he who comes to be purified is aided. Then when he receives help from the Creator, all the lacks will be filled with the light of the Creator. And he begins to rise on the degrees of holiness, because the need has already been prepared within him by coming to see his true state. Hence now there is room to receive his completeness. And then a person begins to see how each day, according to his work, he rises ever upwards. However, he must always awaken what the heart forgets. What is needed for the correction of the heart? Love of friends, whose purpose is to achieve love of others. This is not a pleasant thing for the heart, which is called self-love. Hence, when there is a gathering of friends, we must remember to bring up the question, meaning everyone should ask himself how much we have advanced in love of others, and how much we have done to promote us in that matter. Okay, that's until the end of the article here. So towards that second part of the reading, as we can see from Rabash, basically he's saying that revealing the evil is actually a good thing, because it actually brings a person to turn to the Creator. When he talks about here a man of Israel, obviously, you're in the second semester now, in the intermediate semester. Israel means somebody who wants to correct himself, who wants to reach adhesion with the Creator. That's called an Israel. We're not talking about a person who lives in Israel, obviously. Okay? So Rabash tells us that actually revealing how bad things are inside of us is a great advancement. And it's actually a great privilege for the person to see the truth, because he didn't see that before. And if you ask many people out there on the street, they'll say, if you tell them you're an egoist, you're really bad, and they'll think, oh, what are you talking about, Because a spiritual work brings a person to reveal the truth, which is his egoistic nature. And from that revelation of egoism, he can really have an opportunity now to connect with the Creator. And that's the real trick here, right? So I discover the evil, and then I have a chance to turn to the Creator. And for me to discover the evil in me even more, so I have actually a real desire to turn to the Creator, Rabash is giving us a real nice trick at the end of the article. He's saying, you know what? In order to advance in this way, we need to have love of friends. So that's something like a little pinch, like the little spice you throw into the food. He's just throwing in there in the last two sentences, very tricky and sneaky. He's saying, you know what, to get to the truth, we need the love of friends. So this is why we study Kabbalah in a group of friends who want to come to the love of others, really come to the love of others. And that's really against our nature, that, as he says here. Actually, what we will be doing when we study in the group together, as you enter the young group, what we will be discovering is the greatness of our self-love and how small our love for others really is. And from that gap that we discover how much I love myself and how much I don't really care for others, that tension will bring us to something called a prayer. And hopefully the study should bring us to that. There we go. That's basically what he's trying to give us in this article.
So it's a pretty packed article. He talks here through a few stages. Maybe we'll watch a clip.
Absolutely great.
From Rav Michael Latman. And, well, there's no need for an introduction for the clip. So it's a clip about revelation and concealment of the Creator. So are you ready with the clip?
The Creator sends me troubles? No. What appears to me is those forms that cannot clothe inside my matter. And it appears to me as troubles and problems, diseases, whatnot. All the troubles in our world are those forms that we didn't want to accept as forms of bestowal, to take them upon ourselves. And they are revealed in our world as forms of suffering, as the gap between the form of bestowal that we have to undertake and us. And this awakens all kinds of suffering. There is no other source of suffering, whether internal suffering, external suffering, personal, global, whatever. You can put it differently. You can say all the good things come from the revelation of the Creator. All the bad things come from the Creator's concealment. It's the same thing. All the good things come from the revelation of the Creator within me, the form in my matter. All the bad things is when His form is revealed in the opposite way. That is called a concealment. What is a concealment? It's the same form, only opposite. Let's say I can't find a job for a year, and I can't provide for my family. So, okay, what am I doing? That's the situation. On the one hand, I'm looking for a job as a regular person, working according to the laws of this world, but also, how do I match my form to the Creator or something like that? You have to keep looking for a job with all your efforts from dawn to dusk, like a regular person, and also think that you will only find a job by actually looking for it with your hands and legs in corporeality. Along with it, you also have to be certain that this situation comes from your oppositeness to the form that you should have had already, and that if you were already corrected spiritually, you were immersed in goodness, for sure. Just like he explains to us in the article, The Revelation and Concealment of the Creator. Either you suffer and you're in poverty and so on, or you're in goodness. And what does it depend on? Whether the Creator is revealed or not. What does that mean? Whether I took on His form or not, according to my degree of development. Now, eventually, these are all words. There's studying and there's practicing. So, what does the fact that I don't have a job and I can't provide for my family has to do with the form of bestowal that I need to take on? Because this is what appears to you. Your attitude, your relation to the Creator appears to you in a way that you don't have anything to eat. If you were similar to Him, according to your level of development, you wouldn't feel any badness. What does he write in that article? One doesn't feel any lack and so on. How could it be? Revelation and concealment of the Creator. His concealment brings you troubles. His revelation brings you goodness. As simple as that. And it's in the simplest things, your belly, your health, your honor, your success, money, anything. Whatever you say. It all depends on the equivalence or match that I have with the Creator. He created me, and all the deficits in me come from the light as a replication of Him. My level of adhesion with Him fulfills me, and it happens on the still vegetative, animate, and speaking levels of this world and in spirituality. So what else can I see as the cause for everything? But I'm told you should see everything as dependent on Him. But what is your connection with Him? What is your state? If you are in spirituality, then there's no problem. Then you're already connected with Him through your soul. You know what to do. If you are in corporeality only, meaning detached from Him, so don't imagine things. You have to work in corporeality just like a regular person, according to your level, and you work according to your level in spirituality too, only there it is apparent to you. You know what to do, and in this situation, it's not. So you have to go look for a job and alongside realize that everything depends on the revelation of the Creator to you. And if someone looks for a job and he's not studying Kabbalah, he looks for a job on his level. You already have to equalize and match two levels. If I am not for myself, then who? And there is none else besides him.
There you go.
So throughout the clip, about another 5 or 6 questions were added.
Okay, that's good. That's good.
Yes, so let's begin with a question.
You know, a question is also a vessel. You know, so if I have a question, it's something that I need to fill. So don't be shy in asking, because if a question is revealed inside of you, it's already from the Creator. Okay, so the Creator inside of you is revealing this new lack, this new deficiency, a desire, and it's a good opportunity to fill it up now. Yeah.
Okay, let's just start with a really quick one, just to clear out a term. Francisco from New York, what is the man of Israel? So a man of Israel is very simple. Israel in Hebrew is Yashar Kel, which literally means straight to the Creator. So anyone with a desire to reach the Creator is called Israel. So a man of Israel is you, Francisca, a person that wants to reach the Creator. You meaning anyone, man or woman, it doesn't matter. It's a person with a desire to be straight to the Creator. Okay, another question is bestowing, Francisco this time, Francisco from Sao Paulo, is bestowing the only way to eliminate the evil within myself?
No, I'll tell you what. That's a nice question. Bestowal is the outcome of our work. Okay, it's the result. It's the form I should be taking after I've corrected myself. The way to correct myself is actually much easier than that. It's very easy. The way to correct myself is just I get together with the friends and I take the advice of the Kabbalists from the books, like we read here. Like Rabbi says, you know what, we should see how much we're advancing in the love of friends. So I try to love my friends with all the activities and the lessons and the meetings and the picnics we do and the congresses we do. And then I see the truth, which Rabash tells us, is that, I don't love anybody. And that brings me to ask the Creator for a little prayer. So I tell the Creator, listen, I'm trying to love the guys because inside of me there's this inclination called the dot in the heart who wants to reveal the Creator. And the Kabbalists are saying the Creator is bestowal, and I see that I don't have any of that. So can you please help me out? Can you please change something in me that, at least I won't be this egoistic person, self-loving person, and I'll begin to love other people. So then the Creator, when He hears a heartfelt desire from us, makes the change in us. And actually, that change, bestowal, sometimes, in the book just right now, we read in the article, it said we must do everything for the Creator. It feels like I'm going to lose out on everything. But no, actually, we're going to gain everything by that. So bestowal is the outcome of our work. And who will change us? The light will change us. The Creator will change us as we study. All right? It's not really hard, guys. It's not really hard at all. It's very practical, actually. We just study together, all of us, okay, with the intention that we want to unite with the Creator, bond with Him. And as we study, the Creator will reveal inside of us things that we really feel they should be changed. We will really come to feel that, what? Who is that? Francisco or Francesca? Francisco. You'll see that, wow, that was in me. This is the kind of person I am. Well, I never saw that before. That needs to change. And this is actually really good because it comes with our personal agreement. And then the Creator helps us out. He does that little switch in us. Yeah.
Okay, another question from Oscar. Just by the way, from the questions, you can really feel your efforts to really delve into the study and get into the mindset of Rabash. So it is really
very important attitude to try to get in there.
Oscar from San Francisco. But it's not only seeing our egoistic desires. At some point, one inevitably starts to sense egoistic mindsets beyond the acts of others. Then his relations get also strained because of that. How should this be viewed?
That's a very nice question. So you're asking this. Beyond the egoism that I have, I'm beginning to see other people as egoists as well. Right? Am I correct? Also in our day-to-day lives. Well, it's true. But you know what? In our first term, if you recall, there's a lesson called the perception of reality. And in that lesson, we taught something very interesting. That everything, let's do this. Okay, everything that I see, hear, smell, touch, and taste. Let's say, ooh, maybe not. I'm not so good at drawing, you'll have to excuse me for that. Oh dear. So let's draw this. What I see, hear, touch, taste. What else do I have?
Smell.
Smell. That's right. Everything, right? All my five senses from the outside. This is the outside. Causes in me feelings, thoughts, and this is all reflected in a mirror in me. So the whole world is actually showing me who is me. Okay? Which is actually what the Rav was just talking about in the clip. Okay, so the whole world is actually reflected in such a way that where I am kind of off balance, right, where I need to change, basically. Now, when we're in such a state, when we're advancing in spirituality, when we're in Kabbalah, and it's very hard to grasp that. So what do we have? We have a group. All right? So the Kabbalists say, listen, guys, the world is just too big out there for us to deal with. So let's divide our lives into two situations. One, which is my spiritual society, and two, which is the corporeal society, to make life a little easier for us, okay? Because we're just barely growing up. Just like we don't expect from our children to start going off to work and making money, as soon as they can walk. No, what we do is we give them time to grow up and so on. So here as well, what we need to do, in order to make it a little easier on ourselves, we study spirituality and the spiritual principles of Kabbalah in a group, where I'm with the friends. And within the friends, I should begin to discover egoism and leave the outside world outside for a moment. So if I have issues with my family, friends on the outside, right, not in the group, then I need to treat them like I would treat them in normal life, as if I wasn't studying Kabbalah, right? Think about how you were treating the outside world before you came to Kabbalah and carry on treating the outside world just like that. But inside the group, now, as we're studying the articles and picking up these little nuances, right, these little tips, advices from Kabbalists, I jot them down. And inside the group, those actions I apply and get feedback inside the group to those influences and to those characteristics I have in me that are now being popped up, all right, that are being revealed. So we need to divide our lives into two here, and that is two lives here, okay? So I have a life as my corporeal animal, okay? So I give the animal what the animal needs, just like the Rav said, okay? So this is our corporeal life, and this is our spiritual life, the dot in the heart, right? So for this corporeal, animate life, I give it what it needs. It needs food, it needs sex, family, shelter. You know what a normal animal needs, right? A bear also has a cave. So he needs shelter, he needs, a normal life, clothing, just a regular human's life. So this is our animate life, and we must endeavor to maintain this so our animal doesn't suffer. Okay, so we need to give it what it needs to survive, basically, in a way that we've been used to it in our lives. The rest, though, I need to take care of inside the friends. So I need to integrate my dot in the heart in what's called the other dots in the heart, which are the friends. Now the friends are the dots in the heart, all right? They're not physical bodies. So I need to integrate with them, and I need to work in the group reciprocally with them so that we can aspire to reveal the truth between us. All right? That's basically, in a nutshell, what it is. Everybody works towards each other reciprocally like this. All right? Very good. So we make a network. In this work towards everyone with each other, we begin to reveal inside of us all the concepts, all the things that belong to our desire to receive for ourselves. And that will bring us to, like the article says, to start to see and recognize the bad side of our egoism. And from that we will have a chance to turn to the Creator. This is how a person turns to the Creator. See how nicely they're recommending us in building that relationship. The things I need to do to come to turn to the Creator so we can have some relationship with Him. Otherwise we don't need to have a relationship with Him, do we? And because we're a desire to receive, the whole study brings a person to need a relationship with the Creator. And that's the essence of our work. All right.
Okay.
Sorry for my drawing, by the way. It's a bit...
No, it's beautiful. Okay, so Robert from Dallas is asking, are the friends at fault if I do not reach my attainment? That's a good question, Robert. So the short answer is no, they're not at fault. The medium answer is it's partly true, meaning if your friends don't reach attainment, then it's partly your fault. And the longer answer is, it's actually exactly continuing what Mutlu explained about the perception of reality. To take that even a step further, we're talking about, when we talk about, let's just add another page. So this again, I'm going to do this really quickly because you already know this from fundamentals, but basically we're talking about three states, A, B, and C. A is the perfect state, sorry, is the state of the created being in complete adhesion with the Creator. That's state A. B is, well, this world, let's call it. It's the completely shattered state. It's what Mutlu drew here. It's only pieces of this shattered soul that need to reconnect and rebuild this connection. And C is once we've independently built this connection. So C, you could be confused that it's similar to A, but the only difference is that A is perfect, but it's lacking independence. And C is perfect, but this is already attained independently by you. So, continuing the perception of reality, actually, we are already in that state. We all are, Robert, except for you. And you're the only one, you're the last one that needs to be corrected. And everyone around you is already corrected. And the fact that you see them, or you see the world, and this is maybe also answering Teresa, that it's easy to seek evil in others than in ourselves and go far from the corrected path. Well, this cannot happen in the wisdom of Kabbalah, because the wisdom of Kabbalah always points to one person, and that's you. So this point, your point, is really the only point that needs to be corrected. And this also connects to the article that Rabash was explaining, how a person, he needs to see the entire world in perfection. And how can that be? Because it doesn't depend only on him. Well, the answer is, it does. Maybe if you can find that part that he says that the whole world, then he sees the whole world as perfect and abundant and so on. So really, it is difficult to maybe perceive at the start, because then that means that all the faults that you see outside are actually your faults. And it's true. And that can explain the fact that when a person advances and begins to correct himself, he begins to see the world as perfect. And he doesn't see the world as perfect in a way that he justifies the evil. He says, no, this evil, it's not really evil, it's my perception, I see it that way. No. A person who begins to correct his desire, he actually sees the world as perfect. He begins to see the world is changing. Again, he's not blindly looking at evil and saying that it's good. He actually begins to see goodness. So really, Robert, I hate to say this, but
it's like that for all of us, though.
It's like
don't
that.
Don't feel so bad. Okay.
I'm just using you, Robert, as an example. So really, are the friends at fault if I do not reach my attainment? So the answer is, I always have to see myself at fault. And that's what every person should say to himself. Myself at fault if my friends don't reach their attainment. Did you find that part?
Yeah, Rabash says this is called the Creator's seal is truth. This means that the objective of the work of the Creator, meaning his work in creating the worlds, which is to do good to his creations, is that man must reach the Creator's quality of truth. So being the individual has to reach that. Man will know that he has reached his completeness after he has attained the guidance of the Creator as benevolent, whether he has abundance. Okay? So that work is an individual onus on all of us, and we all need to treat it that way. In life as well, I can blame other people for many things in life, but it really won't help. Okay, so in life, I also, if I want to get something done, you know what they say, you want to get a job done, do it yourself. So same with spirituality, we do the job ourselves, but with the group, inside the group. There you go.
All right, another question from Scott.
Go on then.
How does one bestow? Scott from Canada.
Okay, well
how does one bestow without being egoistic? Is it even possible?
It's possible, very much possible. And like the book says here, like the article says here, that the person will learn from the Creator. What does it say in the article? It says the Creator, his teacher, will no longer hide his face. So what we will do, we will come to reveal the Creator. And once we reveal the Creator, he will teach us himself. The whole idea of spirituality is actually learning from the Creator. That's actually the Creator is actually going to be our teacher, all right? But until we get to that level, until we come to want for the Creator to really teach us, we have to do this work so we can want his help. So this is the whole idea here. And it is very much possible, and a good example in this life, is probably the only example in this life, is the love we have for our children. Okay, when we love them, we don't really expect anything back from them. You know, they break things. They really can complicate our lives. Okay, but we still love them. Okay, so yeah, it can be done.
It can be done, and even to add to that, it cannot be done otherwise.
Yes.
You cannot bestow while being egoistic. But then you might ask, but how's that possible? Because we're created egoistic. And that's correct. And I think we talked about this last lesson.
We talked about in the beginning as well, when we talked about, when we talked about changing our intention, not the will to receive. but just to change the intention.
Exactly. So the actions don't change. And this is actually an important point, and this is what, there was a question here before about what Rav Lightman mentioned in the clip about finding a job, and this is actually exactly what Mutlu illustrated here. If we can see the screen for a second. Can we have a look at this for a sec? Great. So this part, you don't have to restrict or limit that in any way. And this is sometimes a misconception when someone comes to study Kabbalah. They think they have to start limiting themselves, and maybe I'll eat less because that's spirituality. I won't have a cheeseburger, I'll just have a slice of bread and some water, and I'll keep myself from any enjoyments in this world. No, the wisdom of Kabbalah.
Or I'll be a monk.
Or I'll be a monk. Exactly. So on the contrary, the wisdom of Kabbalah does not deal with this world. Whatever you do in this world, as Mutlu said, keep doing it. If you need to find a job, go find a job. Act as everyone acts in this world. If you need to deal with your family or any issues at work, don't come up to your boss and say, I know you're the creator. I know you're inside of me. I need to correct myself and then I'll see you corrected. No, don't do that. There's a reason why the world is set up as it is, and the person has to act in this world according to the rules of this world, externally of course. And internally, that's where the change is. So the desire stays the same. You can use a knife to cut someone with the intention to kill them, or with the intention to save their lives, as a surgeon would do. So, of course, the only way to bestow is by correcting the egoistic desire. Let's take another question. Okay, this is a very common and good question from Linda. In this world of terrorism, how can we see the world as perfect? But why just terrorism? Terrorism, famine, rape, murders, war, crime, right? We can continue that to a very, very long and disturbing list.
Actually, if we look at our lives, things haven't changed much over thousands of years. We're still the same savage people from thousands of years ago that were killing each other. Like, think about the medieval days, right? Everybody was killing each other. They were burning people just simply because they thought they were witches and things like that. It's like crazy. So all these things, all the evil in the world that was before 1,000 years ago, and now, they're not much different, guys. We're just seeing them more because we feel that, well, we've advanced so much. Through all this advancement, how come we're still in this terrible situation? Well, we're in this terrible situation because our nature hasn't changed. We are still the same egoistic barbarians who were, killing and chopping people off 1,000 years ago. The same here. We're just doing it in a more sophisticated way nowadays. Just like there were thieves in the past, there are thieves now. Just like there are corrupt kings and politicians in the past. Well, the whole of the political arena is just corruption.
So what Linda is asking, so how can we see the world as perfect with all of that?
We can't see the world perfect until the Creator changes us. We won't be able to see. What the Creator is showing us right now is, listen, this is your situation, and this is true. Let's think of it objectively. If I am a person, an individual living in this world, and this is the state of the world, it means this is our state, and it's awful, right? Because we see awful things. So I need to come to agreement here. I need to understand that, wait a minute, I'm living in an awful situation. My life is not secure. Nobody's life is secure, and we don't know what's going to happen the next day. So in order for us to want to change, the Creator has to show us the truth. So there are two ways to see the truth. I can either study and come to see the truth consciously, or I can go with the currents of life. Now, if I go with the currents of life, that's very tricky. Because going with the currents of life means I don't know what's going to happen and someone could just blow me up, okay, anytime, anywhere. Just like we just had a recent explosion in Istanbul. We also had multiple terror attacks in the US, in Europe, all over the world. Why? simply because the Creator wants to show us, listen guys, this is your state right now. This is the situation you're living in. If you want to change it, you got to do something about it. So as people who have a dot in the heart, a spark in the heart, who have a little awakening and feel that there is something just not right here and that we need to go to a higher level of existence, here is the wisdom of Kabbalah that tells us, listen, this is human nature. And yes, it needs to change, and this is how we can change it. So until we grasp that change, until we endeavor to change and make moves to change, the Creator will not change anything, and He will in fact make everything worse until we want to become perfect in a higher level of living, a higher level of consciousness, that is.
Okay, to conclude, we have a perfect question, which will also be a segue for next lesson, from Lisa from Arizona. So Lisa's asking, if this corporeal world is such an illusion, does the help of the friends go beyond moral support, sharing questions and learning unconditional love? Is there something occurring also physically or energetically between us? That's a great question, Lisa. And you might recall that last week we spoke about having a workshop, which is basically a discussion method that we've developed in Bnei Baruch over the last 5 years. And it really is an incredible method. Beyond the fact, I can tell you as a person who studied collective intelligence and did a thesis on it, beyond the fact that corporeally it creates collective intelligence among a group of people, it of course has a much, much deeper spiritual sensation to it. And Lisa, that's exactly what you're saying. I don't know if it's physically or energetically, but I do know that it's spiritually. So of course, beyond the group, the physical settings, the virtual settings, you're connected maybe in a Facebook group after the lesson and so on. What we're doing when we're connecting to each other in our thoughts, doesn't matter where we are, just like Mutlu drew this over here. So we are these points, and we're connecting to the other points in our thought. By doing that, we're actually connecting to this system, to this collective soul of Adam Harishon. We won't get into that now, but basically this is the complete and corrected soul. And by making these efforts of these fragmented, shattered pieces down here, we're not doing a physical action, not at all. But these actions are bringing light from the corrected soul, that same soul where we are all connected, where we are all one, that same desire, that same single will that was created by the Creator. And when we try, Lisa and friends, to even focus on the slightest form of connection between us, we're focusing on that, on connecting to become this whole soul, to rebuilding the path of the shattered soul. And it's very exciting because next week we're going to experience a practical method that will actually be able to feel and focus on that connection very, very powerfully. It's called the workshop. And the reason why we didn't start this today is because it's so powerful, we want to make sure that it's perfect. So over these 2 weeks, we're training a team of moderators that will assist you throughout the sessions. From now until next lesson, you'll get all the instructions you need. It's very, very simple software. Anyone can download it. You don't even have to install it. It's online. It's just a few clicks and you're in. And it really is, I'm really, really excited to do this. It's actually a feature that was developed partially for us, for these workshops, by this big company called Zoom. So you'll get all the details you need. And just a quick announcement, an apology for technical issues that cancelled Wednesday classes over the last 2 weeks. So our tech team did everything they can to make sure this does not happen again. So we'll have a lesson this coming Wednesday, July 6th, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. So we thank you very, very much, and we really enjoyed it.
Absolutely. It's always a privilege to be with you, and hopefully we'll see you next Monday.
Bye-bye.
Have a good evening.